This is a daughter podcast where dads come to talk, think, and thrive with your host, Oscar and Blandon. Our mission is to cultivate a community of strong, mindful, and present fathers.
We want to curate honest conversations with all men, but especially those who have the honor of raising daughters.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the daughter podcast. Oscar over here back in my temporary living arrangement with Blandon on the other side. What's up, man? How's it going?
Man, it's going well. It really is. It's a nice Saturday, very nice weekend going on over here. But before we jump into all that, didn't something monumental happen this past week? Didn't something of note happen for you?
I can't think of anything.
You can't think of anything. I think it begins with a happy and ends with a birthday. Happy birthday, man.
Oh, that. Yeah. Yeah, I happened to get one of those this week. It was a big one.
It was a big one. It was a big one.
Yeah.
But you were on your side over there and not at home, so.
I was, man, but the best gift, my wife brought the girls over and we hung out here and
That's great. That's great.
Just had a chill day and did the things I like to do, which is breakfast. We went to one of our favorite restaurants and then we went to dinner.
Yeah.
And had my favorite food, which is steak. So, I mean, can't
we all
beat
love
that.
Steak.
Right?
Can't beat steak. Can't beat a good steak.
And in between, we just hung out and just hung out with the girls. It was great.
Yeah.
Low key, but it was awesome.
Right. No, that's amazing.
I even got a little gift from my buddy here, and
Yeah.
I've yet to take care of it, but it's coming, Joey. It's coming. I got some fuel hunt things to shop for, so I'm excited for that always.
Yeah. So from me, the podcast. Happy birthday, sir. Happy birthday.
I already saw your post. Your post.
I know, but I feel like it's not official unless, we say it on air and we have a big thing about it.
This is something funny, though, because you posted on our Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Well, that connects directly to my Facebook.
Okay.
I'm not on Facebook very much, right?
Yeah.
But we opened it and it came on Facebook. It came from my account. So it looked like I was giving myself a birthday and letting everybody know. And if anybody knows me, knows that is not my style.
The case. That is not the case.
In fact, I try to hide my birthday from people. So
you do.
That was funny because I looked at it and I'm like, oh, man, it looks super pompous for me to be like, hey, guys, it's my birthday. Say happy birthday to me. If you read the post itself, came from Instagram. It obviously says from the podcast team, which came from my good friend Blandon. But when you read it from my Facebook, it's like, oh, look at this dude.
Right.
Wants to be congratulated.
No, it came from us. But, we're glad to have you another year.
I had a cousin ask me, he's like, were you hacked? I was like, yeah, I was hacked.
Little bit. Slightly.
That's not what I do,
It's not your style.
No.
And we respect it. We don't understand it, but we respect it.
Do you?
I do respect it. I do.
Right.
I just don't get it.
It's just mine. It's my birthday.
It's your birthday. Yeah, it's your thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
How's the week going?
The week has been good. So I've been actually home for 2 weeks straight with the girls and my wife, and it's been wonderful. One of the things that I've been really talking to the girls about and what we've really been emphasizing is being open, honest, and telling the truth telling. And, they're just very excited now about telling me about their day and how things are going. But I notice when I start to ask specific questions, my oldest kind of tends to shy away from it a little bit because she thinks she's going to get in trouble. And I'm like, no, what we're doing here is we're having an open dialogue where you're telling me something, I'm telling you how I feel about that or what I see in that or that response. But don't shy away from telling me the truth about it because you think you don't want to hear a certain response from me or you think you know what I'm going to say. You don't know what I'm going to say. Just be open and honest about it. Mm-hmm. And it's just the messaging that I've constantly got while growing up is that, tell the truth. And because I had a complicated relationship with my dad, a lot of times he didn't tell the truth, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of times he would say he was going to come and pick me up and he didn't do that. Or he would say, oh, I'm going to come and take you and we'll go do this thing. We'll go fishing and we'll do this and we'll do that. And he never made good on those promises. And so I knew it was something that when I became a father, I wanted to, first of all, constantly tell the girls the truth about all things, regardless how it made me look, it made me feel, regardless if I was comfortable with it or not. I was going to tell the radical and uncomfortable truth to them. And then next, I didn't want to break promises to them. It was something that I just don't want to do. If I tell them I'm going to do something, I really make every effort to follow through. And if for some reason I can't follow through on it, I ask for their forgiveness and if they will let me out of that commitment. But that doesn't happen too often. What typically happens is they'll remind me later on about it, and then I run out the house to do it. Like if I say, hey, you guys are going to get a treat, ice cream, something like that. And then, life happens, I forget. And then they remind me later on.
Yeah.
My wife sometimes gets a little bugged by it. I'll run out and go get the thing that I said I was supposed to get for them. But it's only because I want to be a promise keeper. I want to be one of those primary relationships for them that has always kept their promises.
Did something specifically bring that conversation up this week or recently that kind of got you triggered to talk about that honest and integral part of you being a father?
I think just everyday life. I think one thing was, so the kids are on a color-coded system in their behavior. So they come home every day and there's a sheet that shows where their behavior was. And both of them came home and one was on yellow, but it was kind of marked out. And then it was on the other color. And I was like, hey, what's up with this? And they were like, oh, well, my youngest, the teacher made a mistake of what color I was on. And I was like, okay, that checks out. And the same thing happened with my oldest one. And she was like, yeah, I said, so, hey, babe, what's going on with this? It says you're on yellow, which is like a warning, which is not something they've ever been on. And so she was like, oh no, the teacher made a mistake. It was not me. It was another student. And I was like, are you being honest with me? And she said, yes, Daddy, I'm being honest with you. And I didn't question it because I'm constantly telling them, hey, be honest. Don't lie to me.
Right.
And I can tell when they're not being forthcoming about something that they may be trying to omit it, which I also tell them is a lie. There are two parts to a lie, right? One part is that if you just fabricate something, make something up. And then the other part is if you leave something out that you should be telling me, that is also a lie.
Yeah, lie by omission. Yeah.
Lie by omission and lie by commission. Yeah. And so, I explain those things to them. And I think it's something that most parents struggle with is that, you want your kid to tell you the truth. Otherwise, there's no way for me to be able to defend them, be able to give them the right kind of advice, help them out any kind of way. And then it puts a bridge, it puts a gap, like a chasm in between your relationship with them if they tell you something and you can't believe it, or if you tell them something and they can't believe it, right? And I don't want that kind of chasm to be created, especially this early,
Are you like us and have two little rugrats running around at home?
Then you might enjoy our podcast, which is all about parenting with babies and toddlers. Come and join us in our imaginary blanket fort for some conversation. Why should people listen to us?
We're married.
Emma over there is an identical quadruplet, and I'm
You're an only child, and he's generally a bit wacky.
If you want a celebrity or a professional or good advice, then we are not for you. I'm a very involved dad as well, so we have a dad and mum perspective.
It's just nice to have a chat with you, honestly. Like once a week. Quite nice.
Go check us out wherever you get your podcasts. Don't wake the baby.
Yeah, I think that's when we start doing that, or when we start missing those honesty points, that's when you start kind of being a police parent where you're like looking for them to do something wrong or looking for the lie, which really erodes relationship, right? Because now your kid is like, anytime they come to you, they feel that. They
Right.
feel like you're looking for something wrong.
Yeah.
I think I probably had a little of that when I was growing up. Like, my parents looking for something that I did wrong.
Yeah.
Always. It's like, well, you start almost to believe that you might have done something wrong all the time. And you
Yeah.
don't want to do that, because then you don't, when you feel that, then you don't advocate for yourself. You don't value your specific opinion, and then you don't trust your opinion either. You don't trust
Right.
your thoughts.
Right.
So it's absolutely critical that happens. And we'll sit and we'll talk about integrity often. For us, it's the cliche, like, it's doing the right thing when no one's watching, right? What is it that you're doing in the dark that usually comes out to light? And trying to explain that to my daughters, it's not hard to explain, but it's hard for them to, I think, see the fruits of that. Not that they don't have integrity, it's
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
when we talk through that, it's like, what you do, it goes both ways, right? What you do in the dark shows in the light. So, for example, you put in work behind the scenes, your product is better, whatever that product is, whether it's school, exercise, what have you, right?
Right.
But it goes the other way too. Whatever you're doing in the dark always comes to light. And so integrity and having that knowledge that you are doing the right thing at all times, uh, that's important for us.
Right.
And this has been a little bit difficult too, because sometimes my daughters both will be like, "Oh, well, I might get in trouble for this, or I might get in trouble for that."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I have been very clear with them. If you're doing something that gets you in trouble, but you're doing it for the right reasons, we can have a conversation,
Yeah.
right? Because your integrity is what you have to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing things for the wrong reasons, that conversation changes, and the consequences changes too.
Right.
And that's something that we talk about very distinctly. Understand that there's consequences to everything, but as long as your integrity is intact, the consequence will be different than if it was not.
Right. Right.
And getting them to understand that, to know, like, hey, come to me with integrity. Make sure you come with the whole truth, like you just said, right? Don't omit things, because that's been an issue a little bit. I haven't seen it maliciously been an issue, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's been an issue where I get some of the truth, but then I don't get the whole truth
Yeah.
or the whole story. And then I find the whole story and I'm like, why didn't you tell me this? Oh,
Exactly.
well, that might have got me in trouble. I'm like, okay, well, now you're in trouble for not telling me that, because that is
Right.
a lie, right?
Right.
And the argument comes like, well, I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you that part.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. But that's a lie by omission. We talk about
Right.
that.
Right.
So the consequence is different now. And a lot of times I make it clear. I'm like, you're not even in trouble right now for what you did, other than the lie. Like, you're just in
That is
trouble
very
for
clear.
lying. That's it.
Yes. 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 And you have to make that distinction.
Yeah.
And I even make the distinction that look, if you're doing something wrong, right or wrong, I'm very much a black and white kind of dad. Right, wrong, or indifferent, whoever wants to judge me for that, that's fine. But if you're doing something wrong, there is going to be a consequence to it. But if you're doing something wrong and you lie about it, now
Yeah.
you've damaged our relationship.
Yeah.
And I think I've emphasized that to my girls, feel like that's the far worse consequence. So they're willing to come to me and tell me the truth and take what consequence comes from this other secondary tertiary thing, because the primary thing is I believe you. I still believe you, and I still am on your side.
Mhm.
If you're out here doing like malicious things like you were talking about and then lying about it on top of it, there's no way I can defend you.
Yeah.
I cannot defend that. And
Yeah.
so now it's a double consequence of, now you're on punishment, but now I don't trust you. And when you come to me and I'm supposed to defend you on something else, now I'm going to second guess it, right?
Yeah.
Because you've lied to me before. This is the vicious cycle that lying has. And I wanted to establish that early on. So I never told my girls that Santa Claus was real. I never told them that the Easter Bunny was real or the Tooth Fairy was real. I always was very clear that these are things of fiction, right? These don't exist. So, because I wanted to start out with our relationship by being honest about all things, not just the things that, oh, well, you're robbing their childhood from them. No, I'm not. I'm robbing them of their childhood. I'm I'm equipping them with the truth. I'm empowering them with the truth. So
Mhm.
now when I tell them something, they can trust it. But so often parents start out with many lies to their children. Lies about their lineage or who their parents are or where they come from, and or smaller lies like, there's a boogeyman under your bed or in your closet or this, that, and the other. And then they wonder why their children question them all the time and
Yep.
don't believe them. And then you're like, well, you lied to me. No, actually, you started off with the lies. You had the power, you had the keys in the relationship to
Yep.
start out with the truth. And you chose to tell lies.
I don't know if it's that black and white as far as them questioning you or not. We're getting into those years where they're questioning, and part of that is it sucks, but part of it is I I want my daughters to question me.
Yeah.
Like I want them to have that inquisitive thought process of like, but why?
Yeah.
Why
I
do we
want
have
them
to
to
follow that
critically think.
rule, right?
I want them to problem solve,
Yeah,
but I don't want them to ever question, like,
your integrity.
am I telling the truth?
I
Is
got
this
you.
is this something of fiction, or is this real?
Yeah,
I don't want them to
yeah,
have to question that. Yeah.
yeah. I agree with that, and I think every so often, depending on who you are, like I've joked around a lot with my kids.
Yeah.
So there's times where I'll say something and they'll just look at my wife and be like, "Is this for real?" I'm like, "Really?" I hope that it's not creating that
No,
other
no.
negative, right? But building that trust is so important. And I think I've probably failed a couple of times at it. In fact,
Mm,
my oldest and I sat down one day and I was like, I haven't broken promises. And she's like, oh, yeah, you have. And then she had them like, she didn't have them written down, but she had them
yeah.
to the point, right? And I'm like, oh, geez. And to your point, that is such a critical thing. Something so small as like, we didn't go get ice cream.
Yeah.
You said we're going to get it. I know, but
Yep.
it's 9 o'clock at night. Sorry, you're not doing that. And it's not intentional,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you get fogged with the day, and then before you know it, day goes away, and the kid forgets about it until, of course, at nighttime when they're like, I got to go to sleep. But there's been instances where I've noticed where I could have been better at fostering that trust and honesty within my kids. I've never lied to my kids like blatantly, although I'm sure I've said like, "Oh, you'll be fine," and then I look at my wife, I'm like, "That looks bad." That probably doesn't help, but one of my kids is like super dramatic. So if
Yeah.
sees a little blood, I mean, you know, think they're gonna die, and so sometimes I'm like, "Nah, that's fine," and then sometimes I'm like, "Oh, that's not that fine," but
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is, it's not always black and white. But to your point, we do have to foster the trust in our
Yeah.
kids and to be able to say, hey, I did this because of this, and these are the things I thought were going to happen, but this is what actually happened. And explaining that and being honest in those mistakes, I think fosters a lot of honesty and relationship with my kids. Right? Not perfect. I'm sure I've broken a promise here and there. In fact, my daughter has told me that. And a lot of times in my mind, it's just like, well, that's not that big a deal, but it is in their world because you are the promise keeper, or at least according to their thought process, right?
Yes.
That's my dad. He's going to keep his promise. So
Right.
fostering the fact, or making them feel that they can trust you, that's key, and that's something that I really focused on lately. Is having my kid be able to call me in a time of distress with the possibility of getting in trouble,
Yeah.
but still being able to call me to trust that I will take care of
Right.
them, right? As opposed to my dad's going to kill me for this. I
Right.
cannot call
Right.
him. And I think that's ultimately the goal, as you mentioned. Like, yes, you got an 8-year-old, you got a younger child, and as we go forward, our goal, I think, is to get to the point where we're fostering honesty and we're fostering relationships so well and trust that as they get older and they have the option not to trust you, that they will, right? Because that's the key. As they get older, as they start being their own person, they have the option to trust other people.
Right. Right.
And hopefully we have done the work as fathers to make them feel that they can trust us first.
Right. And I think also so they can present themselves in the world to be trustworthy, right? I remember, reading and seeing and hearing that people didn't used to have a man's word is his bond, right? That's how it was. My grandfather used to, just shake a man's hand.
Right.
And if he said he was going to do it, he was going to do it.
Right.
Because breaking that promise meant something. It meant something about your character. Now we live in a world where people will lie straight to your face and know they're lying to your face.
Right.
But that's not the kind of world I want to live in. Yeah. And that's not the kind of girls, young ladies, and ultimately women that I wanted to have raised. Mm-hmm. I want you to have been raised with integrity and to go out into the world and tell the truth, no matter how uncomfortable, no matter how radical it might seem to other people, but just tell the truth. Don't be dishonest in your dealings with people. And ultimately, don't be dishonest with me, because I'm setting the trend of not being dishonest with them.
Yeah.
And really saying, yes, when I make this promise, I'm going to, as much as it's dependent upon me, I'm going to follow through with this. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I am probably too black and white, so to speak, for a lot of people, but it also goes back to how I was raised. Like the line of thinking that I was raised with is, if you'll lie, you'll steal, and if you'll steal, you'll kill, right? Mm-hmm. And these things kind of building on each other, compounding consequences, compounding bad decisions, right? So if you just stop right here, if you just tell the truth right here, maybe you can stop the compounding consequences that go forward. And that's always stayed with me. And, I also come from a very moral and religious background that, of course, I didn't fully embrace until I was an adult. But I understand the effects of like bearing false witness. If you can't be credible, that's what that really goes to, the credibility of a person. If you can't be counted on, your word is meaningless.
Yeah.
People hear you say something and they're like, he doesn't mean that. He's flaky. He never comes through. He's always late or whatever. He's never shown himself to be honest and trustworthy, or he's never shown himself to be who he is. That's terrible. And I don't want my girls to be shaped by that man, you know?
And how important is it for you to be honest with yourself?
Absolutely.
Because when my kid will get bent out of shape because they didn't get something, I'm like, did you do all that you can do? Like, did you actually work hard? And that's just one example, right? But be honest with yourself. Did you do the things you needed to do to get what you wanted? Right. Did you treat that person well? Right. Could you have treated them better? Like you mentioned, did you give a little white lie that your father believed because you have trust in them? Right. That's been a huge impact in conversations with my daughter. And I can tell when she hasn't been honest with herself, particularly, when that conversation will trigger her, which is very little. But when it triggers her, I'm like, got you. Like, not that I was trying to get you.
Yeah. Not that I'm trying to get you, but I got you.
But it's like, you obviously weren't honest with yourself. Whatever that dishonesty was, you made yourself believe you were being truthful when you knew you were not. And that's been very impactful, because almost every time she'll come back and be like, actually, this is what I wanted to tell you. Or this is what happened. So turning that mirror back real quick and being like, go look at the mirror. Like, if you're honest and you're fine with yourself, then you know you're good. And you did everything you could. That's why I told her with her grades and the things that she does at school. I'm like, if you're working hard, if you're giving it everything you can, and it didn't go your way, you're still going to feel better than if you didn't do everything you could, you were not honest with yourself, and it didn't go your way. And you can
Right.
tell when that happens.
Yeah.
Honesty begins with you and I,
Yeah.
with keeping our promises, being upfront with them. Big one is letting them know when we screw up and being honest with them on that.
Absolutely.
And then hopefully that's what's teaching them to be honest with themselves as well. Because for me, that's the biggest one. How's your conscience? How honest are you with yourself? How's your integrity with yourself? Because from there it grows. If you can't be
Right.
honest with yourself, you're not going to be honest with anybody else.
Right.
If you can blatantly lie to yourself, lying to anybody else is really easy.
Right. And there's also a difference between being transparent and then being vulnerable, right? Being transparent means like, yeah, if you ask me, I'll tell you the truth.
Right. Yeah.
But being vulnerable means like, we built this relationship that I will give you the truth regardless if you ask for it or not. And I I am working very hard to be vulnerable with them. And, you know, of course my wife, but I think that is the day that I'm going to know that our relationship is solid and sealed, when they just begin opening up to me the truths that I didn't ask. You know, if I don't probe about your day, if I don't probe about what's going on in your life, and you just sit down, hey dad, or just rattle off what's going on at school or with you, or I've been thinking about this, or I've been dealing with this, or, you know, what do you think about this? That's when I know I've really done the work in our relationship as father and daughter. When that vulnerability just becomes second nature, you know?
Yeah. What are your thoughts? Find us at www.daughterpodcast.com. You can find all of our stuff on there, our emails, our social medias, all the things. Also, you'll see a link below that says send us a text. We get those. Thanks, Trevor, for the text you sent. Communicate with us and let us know what your thoughts are on the subject. In the meantime, we thank you all for your listening ears, your eyes on these videos. Please continue to support us. There's ways to support us. You can find those on our site as well. And we hope to see you on the next one. Until then, Blandon on the other side. And for me here, see you later.